Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This will hopefully be a shorter video continuing on our unit circle trigonometry section of this course. We're introducing a new idea today, and this is the idea of a reference angle. And this is what we're going to be using when we start exploring these trig ratios for angles greater than 90 degrees and as well as 180 degrees. Now I've written just a standard textbook definition here of our reference angle. This is just an acute angle that helps us to relate cos theta and sine theta to the first quadrant. Now if I draw a unit circle here, my y-axis, my x-axis, I have my unit circle, 1, 1, whoops, -1, and down here I have -1 as well. In my first quadrant, because I looked that if I, for example, draw some line out to some point, some arbitrary point of xy, we can construct a right angle triangle. We talked about this at length in a couple of other videos, but this first quadrant here, this is kind of like our safe space because the angles within here that we're exploring are going to be less than 90 degrees. So we can quite easily just construct a right angle triangle, this guy here, within our unit circle, and then find what sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta are. But as we move to 180 degrees, to 270 degrees, and to 360 degrees, or back to 0 degrees, some different things happen, and we talked about those last video where we said that sine, cos, and tan are going to have different signs, positive or negative, in these other quadrants. So what we want to do in this video is introduce this reference angle and hopefully just give you a little bit of an introduction to how we can use this and basically lay the foundation for what we're doing in the next video. So let's just say I had an angle that was bigger than 90 degrees. Let's say I had an angle like this here. So now that I'm operating in quadrant 2, I have to construct a different type of right angle triangle. Now I can draw a line out from here to some arbitrary point there. Now I can't work within this section anymore. Now I have kind of like a sector thing happening. I can't relate trigonometry back to its most basic form, which is a right angle triangle. And as crazy as this topic gets, we're always going to look at this unit circle trigonometry through the lens of right angle triangles. So we're going to think, how can we construct a right angle triangle in my second quadrant here? Well, we can actually just draw a line down to here, and this is once again going to be a right angle triangle. But when we work with this, we need to know what this angle is here. We need a reference angle in this second quadrant, which relates it to what's happening in the first quadrant. Because we still want an angle theta, here and here, that's between 0 and 90 degrees, so we can use right angle trig. But what we're going to do here is we have my reference angle, so let's call this RF for now, my reference angle, sorry, RA, reference angle. Let's say we had some angle theta, some obtuse angle. Now I can find my reference angle in the second quadrant by looking at the supplementary angle relationship. Now I have an angle on a straight line, and I know that all angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So if I wanted to find my reference angle, I can just find the difference between 180 and my theta here. So to get my reference angle in the second quadrant, I'm going to be doing 180 degrees minus theta. And we're going to actually see how this works in future videos as well. Now, this is for the second quadrant. Let's look at what happens in the third quadrant. So let's say I drew another angle. Hopefully this diagram doesn't get too messy. But let's say I drew an even bigger angle, an angle that's greater than 180 degrees. This stuff now is brand new. We've never worked in these bottom two quadrants before. So this is what we're doing in this particular video, just introducing it. So let's say I had an even bigger angle, some kind of angle like this. And I draw a line from the center out to some other arbitrary point. Now this angle here, let's call this green theta here. So this is a different angle than my purple theta that I drew earlier. Now I'm looking for a reflex angle. Well, my theta is a reflex angle. So I can't do this 180 minus theta anymore. But if I just draw in, again, just down to here and make a right angle, the reference angle I'm looking for is this guy down here. So my reference angle is going to be there. Now, how can I find this reference angle? Well, here I'm going to have my angle here is going to be my reference angle in the third quadrant. So anytime I'm between 180 degrees and 270 degrees, my reference angle is going to be 180 plus theta. Now, finally, in the fourth quadrant, let's just draw another color here. I pick a point here. Oops. And I've drawn this really massive reflex here. The final thing to do here is my reference angle. That's going to be when I take 360 minus theta here. So whatever my theta is, this big reflex angle, I can find what my little reference angle in here is going to be by taking the difference between 360 and my angle theta. And this is going to allow me to work in the fourth quadrant. But we've talked a lot about angles in this particular video and how to get new angles. And the whole point of creating these reference angles is to relate my unit circle trigonometry, anywhere I am along this unit circle, to the most basic right angle triangle that I first drew out in my first quadrant. In doing this, all of my right angle triangles I've created on this diagram, the blue one, the purple one, the green one, the red one, I can make them into 90-degree, well, I can make them into right angle triangles. And what that's going to do, forgot my right angle here, what that's going to do is allow us to explore trigonometry in all of these angle values from 0 to 360. But we'll talk about how to actually figure out these reference angles in the following video. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there.